All right, everybody. Cinephile Mike is here, and it is day 34 of Oscar Rewind, my series of video commentary reviews that reflect the work of this past year's Oscar nominees and winners. I dig deep into those IMDb profiles, and my hope is that you will discover a new, older favorite, or maybe revisit something you haven't seen in a while. As always, I'll be discussing the recent Oscar connection, awards history for this film, box office information, critical response, and as always, these reviews are spoiler-free. Now, before we jump in, do me a favor, click that subscribe button. You definitely want to be a part of all the cinematic goodness that is coming your way. So we are now in our next theme batch, and we are looking at writers. And today I am looking at Artisan Entertainment's Roger Dodger. Written and directed by Dylan Kidd, this was his first film, and it was released in the fall of 2002, with several international releases throughout 2003, and even one in 2004. Now, by the end of its run, it had made $1,266,828 domestically, with an additional $667,669 internationally, for a worldwide total of $1,934,497. Fairly well received, the film currently sits with an 88% critical rating from 121 reviews, and over 5,000 audience reviews give the film a popcorn meter score of 76%. Award season-wise, Roger Dodger won the Best Narrative Feature at the 2002 Tribeca Film Festival, Best Debut Film, and both the Don Quixote Award and Fipresci Prize at the Venice Film Festival, 2 National Board of Review Awards, 1 a special recognition for excellence in filmmaking, and 1 for Best Actor for Campbell Scott, 3 Independent Spirit Award nods, again, Campbell for Male Lead, and Kidd was nominated for First Feature and Best Screenplay, and then a couple of nods or wins for Breakthrough or Debut Performance for the reason this film is here, because you probably said, Dylan Kidd, I watch the Oscars, that name doesn't ring a bell. Well, the supporting actor in this film, one Jesse Eisenberg, that name you know. This past year, Jesse received his second Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay for A Real Pain. Now, I was tempted to discuss his first Oscar-nominated film, where he was nominated for Best Actor in The Social Network, but I have a feeling a lot of people are probably more familiar with that one, so I thought I'd throw you a little curve and look at this one, which is the very first feature film on his IMDb profile. And as a bonus, not originally planned because I was hitting this film for the first time, but Isabella Rossellini, who was nominated for Best Supporting Performance this year in Conclave, who I didn't get to during Actor Month, has a supporting role here in this prize-winning indie. So we get 2 Oscar connections. So what is Roger Dodger about? Well, from the start, we are at a lunch table, and the madman, ad man about town, that ladies' man who talks a mile a minute about everything and nothing at the same time as a means to address their own insecurity. Well, here he is. In this film, his name is Roger Swanson, played by Campbell Scott, who earned his nickname, which is the title of the film, Roger Dodger, from his older sister when he was younger, because he could pretty much talk his way out of anything. So it's fitting that he ended up a madman working in advertising. He's sitting at the table with his boss Joyce, played by Isabella Rossellini, and his co-workers Donna, played by Mina Batty, and Donovan, played by Ben Shankman. The topic of lunchtime conversation is R-rated. I'll just leave it there without having to go into too many necessary details. But obviously, with what I've explained a little bit about him, I'm sure you can figure it out. And his suave talk is definitely making him feel a little more important than should be. Jump to that night, and we see that while she seemed unimpressed over lunch at this conversation, Roger is actually having a secret relationship with his boss, Joyce. However, she has decided to move on and end their relationship. Now, this stings a bit, and he doesn't, really quite know how to process this, and before he can, who shows up but his nephew, Nick, played by Jesse Eisenberg, who says, well, he's in town from Ohio for a college interview at Columbia and figured he'd say hi. So they go out for lunch, and then Nick reveals the true reason why he's come on this trip. Having heard his mom tell him that Roger was a ladies' man, he wants Roger to help him to, what do mostly every teenage boys want? To lose their virginity. So he figures Roger can give him the tips, and being who he is, he agrees to take Nick out for the night and help him accomplish this new life goal. As we follow these two over the course of this one night, we will follow them to a bar where they will have a life-changing experience for both of them with the lovely pair of Andrea, played by Elizabeth Berkley, and Sophie, played by Jennifer Beals. Then to a party at Joyce's where things get interesting. Then to another final part where, well, let's just say this is what Roger calls the failsafe, since Nick has now struck out a couple times. But given the events of this day, well, how could this go? Dylan Kidd truly gives us a look into the male psyche, that turn of the century of a certain group that it's, and I know anyone of my gender looking at this may feel like I'm hitting them. It's not, but it's tragically accurate for a percentage. It almost seemed like this film was a response to an episode of Sex and the City, but Roger doesn't quite have the same charisma that Samantha does, despite his best efforts. And while some of this film does not particularly age well a couple decades later, there is still a bit of heart here. And what makes it work, when you have content like this, what sell it is the performances. Campbell Scott plays the unlikable role very easily. His Roger actually kind of hints a little bit at, not murdery. There's a little bit of a Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale approach. So, it helps create this character that we know we're probably not going to like, and they're going to keep calling him out on his behavior, but it's an interesting choice and journey to go on. And then you have Eisenberg, who, from the jump as he has in many films, one of the things that works for him is this pent-up, nervous, neurotic energy, which, putting the neuroses and the supposed calm together really, makes for an interesting pairing. And the scenes that they have with Berkley and Beals are truly touching, especially when they have interactions with Nick, because, we see how a man is supposed to be acting with women, which, highlights to be a very special moment. Rossellini, I want to talk about her. She serves her purpose well. Her presence, that accent, that smooth tone of voice, that has worked for her so well, just made her role of Joyce just so delicious that even though, she's putting someone down, you're kind of you want to be there because she does it in such a way that's just smooth. I don't quite know how else to describe it. The film, I'm not going to say it's perfect. It stumbles at points. It gets a little, long in the third act. But look, for a first-time feature film, Kidd proved to have an interesting voice. It's a shame that there isn't too much else, save a couple of other feature films and shorts on the resume, and nothing in, almost a decade. So I'm not quite sure why. He obviously has an interesting voice for capturing, the time in which it is. He captured that turn-of-century male. His 2017 film, Get a Job with Miles Teller and Anna Kendrick, I do remember seeing that. While not the greatest film, there was something to catching that, millennial voice. Here we get, the toxic man-child, and hey, Scott sticks it. It works. Eisenberg is charming, despite one scene where I don't fully support him. Look, it pulls together. The performances are what make this watchable. It's not a wow film. It's a decent 3-star watch. Eisenberg has proven to be an artist of many talents. I am a fan of his, so it was nice to catch up on this earlier film. Now, if you would like to watch Roger Dodger or rewatch this, maybe this was one you caught, you can watch it streaming on Tubi with ads, or for an ad-free experience, you can purchase it or rent it on most digital platforms. All right. So there we have it. We are going to continue moving on with the writers. As always, if you like what you heard here, please click that button, subscribe to the channel, like and share the video, spread the word. You can follow me, Cinephile Mike, on all social media platforms and on Letterboxd. You can find lots of great additional cinematic goodness on my website, cinephilemike.com. All right. Happy watching, everyone. And until next time, this is Cinephile Mike saying take a break and watch something new.